It was one of those unbearable Virginia summers, the kind where the air feels like a wet blanket and the sun scorches everything it touches. The girl next door, Lily, was out in her backyard pool again, cutting through the water with the grace of something not quite human. Her lips, always that striking red, never faded no matter how long she swam. They stood out like a warning, though I didn't know it then. I'd watch her from my bedroom window, hidden behind the curtain, my breath fogging the glass. Creepy? Sure. But when you're 19, awkward, and nursing a crush on a girl who seems to glow, good sense takes a back seat. Lily would haul herself onto the pool's edge, water streaming down her skin, and sing. Her voice was soft, haunting, like a lullaby you half remember from childhood. She'd run her fingers through her dark hair, untangling it, and I'd sit there, heart pounding, wondering how to even start a conversation. Was she into girls? Did she even know my name? I'd moved to this sleepy cul-de-sac in Chesapeake a month ago, and we'd barely exchanged a wave. One afternoon, the heat was so thick it pressed against my skin, and I couldn't resist cracking the window to hear her better. The old wooden frame groaned loud enough to wake the dead. It's a fine day. Her song drifted in, the words slippery like they didn't want to be caught. I leaned closer, straining to make them out, when her eyes flicked up straight to mine. They were sharp, like she'd known I was there all along. I stumbled back, my pulse hammering. She'd seen me, no question. My stomach churned with embarrassment, but something else too, panic maybe, or a need to make this right. I paced my room, muttering to myself like a fool. Just go talk to her, Sarah. Say, what? Nice pool? Love your lipstick? Everything sounded wrong, but I couldn't just hide forever. So I pulled on my sneakers, took a shaky breath, and slipped out to the backyard. The cedar fence between our houses was taller than I remembered, its slats weathered and splintered. I stood there, sweating, trying to psych myself up. Finally, I decided to just lean over and say something, anything. I gripped the fence, hoisted myself up, and promptly got my head stuck between two posts. Smooth. "Hey," I blurted louder than I meant to. "I like the day out." It was gibberish, a clumsy mashup of "I like your makeup" and "beautiful day out." My face burned so hot I thought I'd combust. I was ready to pry myself free and flee back to my house, maybe move to another state, when Lily laughed. It was bright, like bells ringing on a clear morning, and it stopped me cold. "I like the day out, too," she said, her voice warm, teasing. Her eyes crinkled, and I swear my knees wobbled. "Wanna come hang by the pool?" Words failed me. I nodded like an overeager puppy, my head still wedged in the fence. She giggled, and I finally yanked myself free. Splinters be damned. I ran inside, grabbed my swimsuit, a faded blue one-piece I hadn't worn since last summer, and tried to calm my racing heart. This was happening. I was going to hang out with Lily, maybe even get her number. When I reached her yard, though, she was gone. The pool sat still, its surface like glass, reflecting the relentless sun. "Don't go in yet," Lily's voice called from inside her house, light and musical. "Grabbing some drinks." I nodded to no one and sank onto a plastic lawn chair, the kind that sticks to your skin. The heat was merciless, no breeze, just the hum of cicadas and distant lawnmowers. Sweat trickled down my neck. I'd forgotten sunscreen, and my skin was already prickling. The pool looked so cool, so tempting. Just a quick dip, I thought. She wouldn't mind. I slid to the edge, dipped my toes in, and gasped. The water was cold, not refreshing, but sharp, like stepping into a winter lake. It didn't make sense for a pool baking under this sun. Curiosity pulled me in, and I eased into the water, shivering as it swallowed me. The cold bit into my bones and a strange smell hit me. Salty, briny like the ocean. This wasn't right. I kicked to stay afloat, rubbing my arms when something grazed my foot. Soft like a plant brushing past. I jerked my leg back, but it snagged, tangled in something slimy. My heart lurched. I tugged harder, panic bubbling up, and finally broke free. I flailed to the poolside, hauling myself onto the warm tiles, my breath ragged. I looked down at my ankle. Dark, stringy strands clung to my skin, glistening wet. My stomach twisted as I peeled them off. It wasn't seaweed. It was hair, long human hair, slick and cold. I stared into the pool. The water was clear, empty, no sign of anything. My hands shook as I tossed the hair onto the grass, bile rising in my throat. Then Lily's voice came, smooth as silk, but with an edge I hadn't noticed before. I told you not to go in. She stood by the pool holding 2 glasses of lemonade, her red lips curled in a smile that felt wrong, like it was hiding something. I'm sorry, I stammered, my voice small. Her expression softened, but her eyes didn't. It's fine, she said, setting the drinks on a table. If you want to swim, let's swim. She slipped into the water, barely rippling the surface, and beckoned me. I didn't want to go back in. That hair, the cold, it screamed wrong. But Lily was watching, her smile expectant, and I didn't want to ruin this. So I slid in, the water biting my skin all over again. She led me to the deep end where the bottom dropped away. I wasn't a strong swimmer, and the water kept surging into my mouth, my nose. It tasted salty, sharp, like I was drowning in the Atlantic. My lungs burned, but Lily was unfazed, her voice cutting through the water like a song. Let's dive down, touch the bottom. Every nerve screamed to get out, but her eyes held mine, pulling me in. I nodded, took a breath, and dove. The water pressed against me, heavier than it should have been. My chest ached, my ears popped. Something bumped my shoulder. The cold stung my eyes, but I forced them open and froze. A face stared back, pale and bloated, its eyes wide, unseeing. A scream tore from my throat, bubbles rushing out. This wasn't a pool. The water stretched on, endless, dark, an ocean under a suburban sky. Bodies floated around me, upright, suspended, dozens of them. Some were missing limbs, chunks of flesh like something had been gnawing at them. Lily's hand clamped around my ankle, her grip iron. I looked down. Her red lips parted, revealing jagged, needle-sharp teeth like a deep-sea predator. Her eyes glowed faintly, unnatural, and her smile was a taunt. I thrashed, my vision spotting, my lungs screaming. The surface was miles above, the bodies closing in, their cold fingers brushing my skin. I was going to die here in this impossible place with her song echoing in my head. With a final desperate kick, I drove my heel into her face. Her grip loosened just for a second, and I surged upward, clawing through the water. The bodies reached for me, their hands grazing my legs, but I kept going, my muscles burning, my vision blackening. When I broke the surface, the world was wrong. Too quiet, too still. The sun blazed, the cicadas droned, and the pool was just a pool again, small and ordinary. I gasped, choking on air, and dragged myself onto the tiles, my body shaking. I looked back. The water was clear, empty, no bodies, no Lily, just my own reflection, pale and terrified. I stumbled home, my legs barely holding me up, the taste of salt lingering in my mouth. I locked the door, sank to the floor, and tried to breathe. Was it real? Was she something else? A siren, a monster luring me into that abyss? I don't know. But I can't unsee those eyes, those teeth. Now as I sit here, the house too quiet, I hear it. Her song, faint but unmistakable, slipping through the walls. It's a fine day. It's calling me, pulling me back to that pool. I keep the curtains closed, the doors locked, but it's there, always there. And I'm terrified that one night I'll open the window, that I'll answer. If that gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Drop your own creepy stories in the comments. What's the scariest thing you've seen in a place you thought was safe? Until next time, don't go near the water.